My name's Belinda Clark and I'm the Director of Mission here in Calvary Hobart that covers Calvary Valley and Calvary St John's. I heard my mum crying. No one actually communicated that my grandfather had died. My mother did not speak about her father and the death of her father with us until I was an adult.
I see death every single day, many times a day, but when it's your family, it's very, very different. I'm Kim Self, a senior nurse on Gibson unit. I'm going to start crying. My daughter would clean my grandmother's mouth when she couldn't have any fluid anymore.
My name's Kate McNichol. I'm a pastoral carer here at Calvary, part of the pastoral care team.
What we're inviting you to do now is just to pair off and just to talk a little bit about, just to share. It can be about how you're feeling right this moment. It can be about an experience in your own life.
This is our Gibson unit, so it's a private palliative care, oncology, haematology and medical unit. This is one of our day patient rooms. The patient will have a drip popped in their arm and literally you sit in your recliner chair with your legs up and you chat to the person next to you, you have your treatment and then you go home.
There was, in the first session, a lot of emotions. It was quite tumultuous. Some of the topics, we thought we'd hit them straight up.
A lot more, I suppose, confronting than I expected it to be. It was a good jump start into what we were expecting over the next 6 weeks. So, yeah, I think it was good to get into it straight away.
We got tears from staff, we got tears from students, and we were obviously prepared for that in terms of having our supports in place. But by the end of that session, I was like, wow, this could be quite intense.
It's a part of life, I guess, and we all need to learn from it.
Today, we're moving into a different area. We're looking at the web of care. So who are those key people that are involved in delivering care to our patients, who are the most important thing in our equation?
I don't really see them as patients, I just see them as people in our community. It's just a privilege to go and be a social worker and cancer care coordinator with people who have life-threatening diseases. I was extremely surprised that we had a speech pathologist on our team. So I thought, why would someone need a speech pathologist in palliative care? And often people, because of their disease progression, might have swallowing issues. Our patient, Sarah here, has just come into the hospital, and we're going to give you an example of how not to do patient-centred care.
Sorry, I'm really busy, so I'll just do this really quickly. What's your number? 255 here.
I felt like I was almost in prison, especially with the number. I felt very uncomfortable, and even though it was role play, I felt like I did something wrong, or because she was very rude and she wouldn't look at me, and I actually felt quite bad.
I think anything that we can do to make that transition for when young people are confronted with this, we should be doing it. So nice to meet you. I'm Kim. I'm working with you this morning. We will refer to a number quite a lot. We do apologise, it's just for safety reasons. So yeah, we do check your number a lot. The doctor's on the way. Is there anything that I could get you?
She sat on my bed and it was quite lovely, and she was so warm and I felt so comfortable, and she showed me everything around and what happened and explained everything to me, and that was such a better scenario. So
I admitted Virginia when she first came to Gibson unit. I think that was one of the strengths of the program, that we actually had a patient that's going through the illness experience that does have a terminal illness that would actually share that.
Yeah, my journey started just a normal day. Woke up in the morning, had signs of blood in my urine. Further tests showed that it was most likely cancer. I decided on just completely having my kidney removed. I didn't want anything else, I just wanted it out. 5 weeks later, I had a CT scan for a 6 weeks check. Everything was fine. I was told to go ahead and lead my normal life. Fantastic news. And then 3 weeks later, started to feel a little bit secondhand, I say. They found secondaries in my lungs. Over the next few weeks, found out that I did have a terminal cancer that was inoperable. it would kill me.
She's very brave. Like, I think if I was going through that experience, it would be so weird knowing that I'm fine for like 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks later you've got all these cancers around you.
Some people in the family will talk to me about end of life. Some won't. And I accept that and respect that.
I didn't consider that before, that people obviously find it harder than others to talk about and come to terms with. So that was, quite emotional.
We're not just teaching in a classroom, we're actually bringing in, and that was the strength, that's what the girls wanted.
What was the first thought that you had when you found out you had cancer?
My first thought was get it out.
I felt really... I didn't feel sorry. I felt like... I don't know a good word to explain how I felt.
When my hair started to fall out, it was just woke up one morning and it was like I had cobwebs on my face, but it was actually hair.
One of my primary aims was to show the joy in death and dying, and that, yes, it is sad, but it is a part of life. And the more that we can talk about and be open about it, the greater potential we have to see the joy in death and dying. Virginia has actually come in to visit us, and I've been to see her today. She's been with us for a couple of nights. She would like a couple of you to come down and say hello to her this afternoon.
I'm so glad you came.
She said, I don't feel well enough to go upstairs, but if she had have been, she would have come in every session just to be a part of it. She could see the benefit of what we were doing.
She just said thanks for coming in for the flowers. She was really happy about the flowers.
She was, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
One of the things I'd like to talk about is how to support other people when they're grieving. So not only dealing with grief ourselves, we'll touch on that and what does grief look like, but actually how do we support someone when they're grieving. Often they come to us and that person is still alive and they're unwell, or they might be quite well at that stage, but they're having a lot of grief around this diagnosis and what does it mean.
These weren't topics that people naturally want to talk to, and it is hard to elicit a response, but art gives you a different space to do that. And for me, Bradfield, I hoped, and I think we saw it worked, he would provide a different avenue of response. I think it was wonderful having him here, listening to the presenters, listening to the students, and then diarising it in a different form. Today's session builds on last week, and we have our fantastic cartoons that are still up from last week with on grief and loss, and Canteen and Bradfield, I think, allowed us to explore grief in a different way. We also had the blog going, which was a way that I saw that we could communicate with people that did have some concern. We had, I think, 1,000 hits in the first 2 weeks, which is incredible, the amount of community interest in that space, including people from the UK and America. So we were like, wow, people are really interested to see what's happening in this space.
And today we're going to be talking about this weird word called ethics. There are some ordinary means of treatment, things like keeping someone hydrated, keeping them fed, making sure they have enough oxygen, making sure they're warm, and all of those kind of things. But there are also extraordinary, so big interventions that we might take too. So it might be administering chemotherapy, for example.
My wife, whose name is Barbara, was getting ready for bed, and she noticed some spots of blood on her bra. And we immediately thought, of course, of breast cancer, and that's what it turned out to be. When we got back into Sydney, we rang immediately. The doctor was on holidays, and so we had to get somebody else in the clinic who we didn't know.
What specifically, as we approach the end of life, what kind of vulnerabilities come up then? How might people experience vulnerability as they approach the end of life?
Not knowing, we had to find somebody to do the mastectomy and so on. Unfortunately, in that surgery, there was a female doctor who I'd had something to do with in her student days, and she was able to sit us up. And from that point on, this vulnerability was lessened considerably.
And I was with Virginia yesterday, and she asked me to share As you know, she wasn't expecting to come back into hospital, so to be here for 20 days has been really challenging.
Whether you're receiving treatment for cancer or whether you're in the active phase of dying, community nursing will come and visit your home. It might be weekly, it could be 2 times a day, and they will help provide that support.
This poor gentleman is feeling like he's invisible, so our job in palliative care is to make that person feel visible again. If you in any way represent the future of palliative care, the community is going to be in very good hands indeed.
I do feel like by having this conversation as a group, I could see that was having a real ripple effect. In the conversations that they were having within the group and in the sessions, but I saw that, I think, more importantly, between themselves.
It was really eye-opening to see like everyone's different experiences with death and how it can affect people in different ways.
I'd just love to see this process go out to more people because whether it's the general public, whether it's school groups, whether it's university students practicing medicine and nursing who don't have this opportunity, because so many people don't know how to deal with it.
For the school, we would definitely jump into the program again if we were offered the opportunity. It has been an amazing experience.
Opened my mind for sure. Like, I never thought I'd take the step of like being in that kind of area.
My daughter's a medical student and she would really enjoy being part of this, so I think it has scope to spread far beyond just senior secondary education into tertiary education as well.
I really hope long term we can change community perspective about death, dying, and how we look after ourselves and how we look after our loved ones and our community when they're approaching and reaching end of life. So thank you. We feel really privileged to be with you today, and thank you.
Thank you.